Let's keep it rolling here on Send It In, you guys. We're getting ready to dive in to some of these top 25 matchups in college football. We'll look at NFL Coach of the Year, and then we will dive into my Survivor picks for Week 3. So if you guys are listening into the show, chime in at the BetMGM Network. Let me know what you guys are on in Survivor Pool in Week 3. What if you have a Coach of the Year bet as well, and anything that you like in college football. But let's break down some of these big matchups. We got number 16 Utah taking on number 17 Texas Tech with the total at 57.5. This spread feels a little trappy to me. We all know that Utah is one of the best home fields in college football. Trying to win at Bryce Eccles is very difficult. Now, what's interesting is this game is going to be the Fox Big Noon kickoff, noon Eastern, but it's going to be 9 Pacific. So this is going to be an early start time in Utah. You got a great defensive team in the Utes, a very good defensive line, and improving defense in Texas Tech. I like first half under 27.5. We've seen so far in the early part of the college football season, a lot of these marquee games have been low scoring in the first 30 minutes. I think this one is going to follow that same trend. So I'll take under 27.5 first half between Utah and Texas Tech. What about number 22 Auburn going on the road in Norman this week and taking on Oklahoma, the number 11 team in the country? Sooners are favored by 6.5. The total is 49.5. I think a lot of people are going to look at this game and be like, Oklahoma was a 5.5 point favorite against Michigan, and now they're a 6.5 point favorite against Auburn. How does that make any sense, right? Eye test would tell you Auburn is probably a better team than Michigan. Both teams good defenses, and Auburn more explosive offense for sure. I think a lot of that Auburn win, though, against Baylor had to do with Baylor and their defense and their inability to stop the run. Baylor the very next week against TCU gave up another 40 points. So Oklahoma's defense is a different animal. Jackson Arnold, who's the head coach of Auburn, was with Brent Venables and the Sooners last year, so they definitely know his weaknesses and where to attack them. But I think it could be a little bit of a trap taking Auburn with this many points and people trying to compare it with, but Auburn's better than Michigan, so why are we getting more points with Auburn? I think, again, that Auburn-Baylor game was a little misleading. It was a great win for Auburn, no question. But Baylor shut down their really good wide receivers, and it was really all about the quarterback run in that game. I think Oklahoma's going to take away the QB run. They're going to make life difficult on those wide receivers. And Mateer is a really good quarterback. There's a reason he's favored right now to win the Heisman. So I do like the Sooners minus 6.5 against Auburn. I also would lay it with Ole Miss this week, minus 11.5 against Tulane. Total in the game is 61.5. We'll see if it ends up being Chambliss, the backup quarterback for Ole Miss, or if Austin Simmons is going to be back and playing for the Rebels. For me, it really doesn't matter. I'd still lay it with Ole Miss because it's a fade of Tulane, a team that I really like and a team that could be the Group of 5 champion and make it to the college football playoff. They have 2 Power 4 wins this season over Northwestern and Duke, so they've challenged themselves in the non-conference. This is going to be the 3rd Power 4 team that they played. The problem is Northwestern and Duke are 2 teams that love to beat themselves. Northwestern had 5 turnovers in that game against Tulane. Duke could not get out of their own way. Multiple turnovers, missed field goals, drive stalling, costly penalties, missed opportunities constantly. It was kind of the same thing that Duke was doing against Illinois. So again, yes, Tulane has some nice wins. They've beaten some Power 4 teams, but it's more the opponents that they played. Now they're playing a competent offense with a competent coach and an SEC team that could be in the college football playoff. I think Ole Miss wins by 2 touchdowns. I'd lay the 11.5 with them. Michigan, Nebraska, we talked about this game yesterday. This game is under, baby, 45.5. I think the first 1 to 20 is going to win this one in Lincoln on Saturday. Dylan Raiola, just not what I've wanted to see out of him this season. I thought he'd be a little bit better. I thought we'd see some improvement, but just kind of feels like it's the same old Raiola to me with Nebraska. So I think against this Michigan defense, they're going to have problems scoring. On the flip side, man, Nebraska's defense is solid. Bryce Underwood making his 2nd career start. There's not going to be Sharon Moore out there. It's going to be Biff Poggi coaching his 2nd game for Michigan. So Wolverines just want to get in and get out with a W. They don't care what the score is. I think it's going to be an ugly, sloppy, physical, nasty 20-17 type game. I'll take under 45.5. How about South Carolina and Mizzou? I really like South Carolina this week, you guys, at plus 13.5. Maybe even sprinkle some money line against Mizzou at that nice 4-1 price. What's funny about this game is it's essentially the same game played last year, except this year, South Carolina is in the spot that Missouri was in. You had about a 2-touchdown favorite last year. Missouri had their quarterback injured. They had a bunch of injuries. They went on the road to South Carolina, big dogs, and they nearly won the game outright. Well, now here's South Carolina without Sellers going on the road against a ranked team. And I think everybody is so down now on South Carolina because not only is Sellers out, but they lost 31-7 to Vanderbilt. I mean, think about yourself if you're South Carolina, right? What a shock to a system that is. When you lose arguably the best quarterback in college football, you're already trailing to Vandy. That was just a tough spot. But now they get a chance to regroup. They get a chance to go into the week knowing that Sellers is out. They get to formulate a game plan behind the backup quarterback. I expect that defense to be much better. These games are normally close. I just think 13.5 is way too many, so we'll take the Gamecocks plus the points on Saturday. I'll also take Miami minus 7.5 against Florida. Florida back-to-back weeks, man. You're playing the number 3 team in the country in LSU, and now you get the number 4 team in the country in Miami. And it's essentially the same spread. I mean, Florida closed at 5.5 at some shops against LSU, so they were taking money all the way up until kickoff. I think that was the game to bet Florida, right? Off that tough loss to USF, you know they would bounce back and play really hard and be competitive, and that's what they were. And even despite DJ Lagway's 5 interceptions, I mean, they were still pretty much in that game the entire way. The problem is Miami's offense is much better than LSU's offense, and I think the defenses, maybe LSU's is a little bit better, but Miami's is certainly more improved. I just think it's going to be tough for Florida to really give their max effort 2 weeks in a row. And mentally, like, where's DJ Lagway at? You just threw 5 interceptions against a great LSU team. Now you got to go on the road again. No, you have to play mistake-free football and play really, really well if your team wants a chance to pull off the upset. I like the Canes minus 7.5. And then finally, Illinois and Indiana. You got the Hoosiers favored by 4.5 at home. The total in the game is 52.5. I'm staying away from this one. Every year in college football, there's a team that just has some like magic to them, a team that their record is way better than it feels like they should be. Like the eye test doesn't match what the record is. That was TCU when they made the national championship a couple years ago. It was BYU early on in the season last year. It was this Indiana team last year. And Illinois is a team that I'm just a little bit afraid to bet against right now because that Duke game, they won the turnover battle 5-0. And just about everybody liked Duke in that game. And I just get the vibe, you know, going up against Cignetti and Indiana and how good they were against the spread last year. People are probably going to like the Hoosiers in this game. I just don't want to bet against Illinois. I kind of just want to sit back and watch this game. So Indiana, Illinois going to be a pass for me on Saturday night.